There's another way, kids. You don't have to be an ESPN anchor.
All right.
I know.
Right.
That's usually my spiel. Like,
We're going to get started. All right. Good evening, everyone, and welcome. In case you don't know me, my name is Mary Ann Reed, and I'm the Dean of the WVU Reed College of Media. No relation. So when we conceived the 100 Days in Appalachia project 200 plus days ago, we never imagined the kind of reception that this project would receive. The idea grew out of a project that was already in the works. We were developing a digital publication that would chronicle the stories of our region, but for an external audience. We wanted to offer a narrative that would counter the established media narrative, which identifies Appalachia only for its problems, things like coal mining disasters, opioid abuse, and extreme poverty. Instead, with our publication, we wanted to talk about the serious issues of our region that we've been grappling with for some time. The loss of jobs, the impact of globalization, the declining middle class. And we wanted to frame these topics as both unique to our region, but also representative of the challenges facing the entire country in a time of post-industrial economy. We used to say, where West Virginia goes the rest of the country. And that seemed a little grandiose until November 7th. Then the presidential election happened. And the rest of the world wanted to know, why did Appalachia vote overwhelmingly for Donald Trump? And how did we miss that story? We realized that we now had an audience for the story that we had always wanted to tell. And 2 months later, we launched 100 Days in Appalachia, and we have been running ever since. The response to the project has been overwhelming. In a very relatively short amount of time, we've grown a fairly sizable audience on social media, and we've gained a lot of national media attention. We clearly struck a chord with our audience, and that has inspired us to keep going well beyond 100 days. Now, I credit the success of the project to date to the entire team that you see here, but I also want to really say a few words about the amazing work done by Nancy Andrews, the stunning photography that you see on all these walls. Nancy is our outgoing Ogden newspaper's visiting professor in journalism, and she is the author of 100 Voices, which is the photo project within 100 Days in Appalachia. Nancy's incredible photographs, and their portraits, offer a front porch to the 100 Days project, providing readers with an accessible entry point to those tough issues that we're trying to address. To the outside world, Nancy's 100 portraits show the diversity of people and voices that coexist in our Appalachian region, and fairly peacefully. But inside the region, her work allows people to see themselves, not as stereotypes or caricatures, but as individuals who are imperfect, but also beautiful, who may come from different backgrounds and experiences, but who share the same hopes and dreams for a better future for their families and their communities. I can't thank Nancy enough for her work, for the time, the heart, and the humanity that she put into the project and that is captured by these incredible images. So after tonight's presentation, I urge all of you to take some time to walk around, to study the photographs, to read the captions, and consider what they say about West Virginia, Appalachia, and about all of us. So I thank Nancy for your beautiful work, and I thank all of you for coming tonight to celebrate with us this moment in our project. Thank you very much.
For those of you that know me, my voice carries, so I have to figure out how far to stand away from the microphone. Welcome, everyone. We have an exciting evening planned for you all tonight. We will kick off the event with a panel discussion, including members from the 100 Days team, featuring, of course, photographer Nancy Andrews, the visionary behind the photo series 100 Days, 100 Voices. All the beautiful portraits you see throughout the center tonight were meant to depict the diversity of voices across Appalachia. The photo series strives to show the varied faces, passions, issues, and opinions from around the region. 100 Days in Appalachia is an experimental journalism project launched by our school, and as Dean Reed said, it was designed to burst the filter bubbles on social media and candidly narrate the first 100 days of the new presidential administration from within the heart of the region, West Virginia. And if we are indeed Trump Nation, then Appalachia's story is now America's story. 100 Days is continuing so that we can take a look at all the stories within the region, 100 days at a time. Let me introduce the members of our 100 Days panel. First, on the end, we have Dana Kester. Dana is creative director and executive editor for 100 Days in Appalachia. Dana also serves as creative director for the Media Innovation Center and leads the center's night-funded Innovators in Residence program. Sitting next to Dana is Tyler Channel. Tyler is the web developer and a multimedia producer for the 100 Days in Appalachia project. He's a lecturer at the Reed College of Media, teaching video editing, visual journalism, and serves as a multimedia specialist for the college's Media Innovation Center. Next is Jesse Wright. Jesse is a contributing editor for 100 Days and news director for West Virginia Public Broadcasting. WVPB is also a partner with 100 Days. Jesse has also launched 2 other reporting projects, Appalachia Health News and the Ohio Valley Resource, a new regional reporting project funded in part by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. And finally, the star of the show tonight is Nancy Andrews. Nancy is the lead photographer and an editor for 100 Days in Appalachia. She has worked to confront stereotypes throughout her 30-year career. Her challenge for 100 Days was to create 100 portraits from across Appalachia for the 100 Voices series. So now we're going to begin with Dana, who will kickstart our panel discussion. Dana?
Can you all hear me okay? Do I need to come closer? Does that work? There we go. Up in here. Okay, great. So as, hold on a second. Sorry. Thanks. That work? There we go. Sorry. As Dean Reed mentioned, basically one of the premises of 100 Days in Appalachia is that it represents a much larger narrative about the world that we live in. And if you have not read this particular piece, it's one of the pieces that we have on the site, I recommend it, and I feel like it does capture that sentiment. One of the things that all of us discovered as citizens of this country is the depth of the cultural, political, economic, racial, religious divides over the course of the election. And we feel like this project gives us an opportunity to productively explore those issues and to very intentionally build bridges across those divides. As the Dean mentioned, we're also responding to the intensive media attention and narrative about Appalachia and the region that was persistent, consistent, daily, but also it tended to hit just a few notes. And we knew as members of the community that it was in no way representative of the many, many stories and the many perspectives that are happening and that represent the region. One of the things that we felt like is really important as not just as a school of journalism, but as educators and also as journalists, is the role and responsibility we have to build trust, faith, and credibility in media. And we recognize that when people do not hear their voices, see their faces, or recognize their realities in the media that they see, that that media does not hold anything for them. So we're doing our best to represent that. And I will also say, my goodness, Nancy's portraits is one of the most important parts of our project, and making sure that people literally see themselves and hear their voices in media. The other thing that's really important for what we're doing is really flopping what has been a general rule of journalism. Journalism typically takes national news and makes it local. Well, we're taking regional content and we're making it national. And building that audience has been a roller coaster ride for us, because we had no idea it would accelerate so quickly. In fact, we thought we would be a pop-up for 100 days, but in fact, just shortly after 100 days is when our audience was really escalating, and we were suddenly getting a lot more attention on the project. We recognized we had a brand, we recognized we had a growing audience, and we've, as mentioned, have been running ever since. Another thing that in that process, and the way we sort of connect with stories that are resonating across the nation, is we listen to the internet and are trying to be responsive to what folks are responding to in the moment. But what's probably more important is that we're trying really hard to listen to our communities and interpreting that. One of the models that we had for our startup was Mike, and I don't know if any of you follow them, but I love that 2 people built it, startup in 4 years, and we are as ambitious in trying to grow this brand. And in fact, this semester we're working with an innovator in residence who is working with a class. I hope some of those folks are here tonight, and helping build a sustainable business model for the 100 Days brand. Again, I just want to reiterate the necessity and the importance of having folks represented in media, so that they begin to be sort of creators of their narrative, speaking outward instead of subjects. And I know that when Nancy talks about this, all of the folks that have participated in 100 Days are not subjects. We consider them collaborators in this project. One of the projects that we hope you'll check out after the project, our Muslim and Appalachia series. I know we felt really strongly with the folks that we're working with, and I think I see Sarah here tonight. Very much that's a collaborative narrative project. And just a couple other quick things. One is, the other thing that we're doing is we are engaging with our audience. We're using some different tools for hearing from community members about what matters to them, what stories they want to tell the rest of the world. So if you have something to say, please come to our website, come to our social media, and tell us, because we want to hear from you. I just wanted to share a little bit of some of the celebration we've had. This is just a little bit of it. It's continued to grow. We've heard from the New York Times and Facebook and different folks who have I think have had a curiosity and a growing affection and respect for our project. And I don't feel like that's good for our project, but I feel like that's good for Appalachia. And I hope that we can build on that. And just a couple other things I wanted to share is one of our targets is, because this is a journalism experiment, is one of our sort of launch strategies was talk to other journalists about what we're doing. Because in part, it's a bit of a response to a critique of media during the election, and how so many voices of different affected communities felt left out of a national narrative. So this is just a sample of some of the national and international outlets that have engaged with us or written pieces about our project. And then finally, where we're at right now is we are growing our partnerships, and we have a collaboration with The Guardian, who is doing a very thoughtful effort at capturing rural America with new eyes and is partnering, instead of parachuting in, they're partnering with regional media outlets to do that story right. This is one of the pieces that we published this summer. And we're also working with Snapchat News and a partnership with them and pursuing new audiences. And that's where we're at, growing. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Dana. Now we're going to hear from Tyler, who is going to go over the analytics of 100 days. And I think you're going to find these numbers impressive.
Yeah, so I spend a lot of my time trying to figure out where our traffic's coming from, who's looking at stuff, why they're looking at it, what they're finding particularly interesting about a particular article. And so most of the time I am sort of looking at this information. And just to kind of give you our structure, and to be honest, I think in the beginning we were just happy that people were following on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. And this is kind of how we have structured everything. So we're posting on Facebook, Twitter, and on Instagram, and we're driving that traffic to our website. Most of our traffic is coming from Facebook. This is like our #1 social media platform. And these are some numbers on the impressions, the reach, the engagement that we've seen so far on Facebook. I think there's room for improvement on the engagement. I'm going to talk a little bit about what we're going to do to kind of solve that engagement. And engagement is just likes, shares, comments, and that sort of thing on Facebook. So I was interested in why Facebook is our #1 traffic source. And I think the answer to that is the Facebook algorithm, right? So whenever you post something on Facebook, all of your friends don't see that, right? We know this. And if, for example, someone gets engaged or something like that, and there's a lot of likes, there's a lot of shares, there's a lot of comments, you begin to see that more often. Whereas with Twitter, for example, you might not see something if you don't see it that day, right? So this is where Facebook's algorithm is adjusting content. So if people are sharing our content, they're liking it, they're commenting on it, you're going to see that more often. And also it's a discussion on Facebook. And so something that I learned through this process is that Facebook actually gives preferred visibility to news publishers. And we've gone through that process, and Facebook does consider us a news publisher. So we do see some benefit to being a news, I mean, it's called a news feed. And so Facebook is interested in actual news content. And our audience grows as a result of that. Has anyone ever heard of Facebook instant articles? No? Anyone? So all of you have likely used Facebook. How many of you use Facebook for news? You're scrolling through. Okay, Huffington Post, anyone? All right, then all those of you who said you have used Huffington Post, that is an example of instant articles. I'm going to briefly explain what that is. So it's essentially just a faster way for content to load. And we see 73% of all of our traffic is mobile. So for me, our desktop website, it looks pretty, it looks great, but I'm focused on what it looks like on mobile, right? So Facebook instant articles, we post it on our WordPress, Facebook picks it up and turns it into an instant article. So they're hosting that content natively on Facebook. And as a result, everything's faster. Our content is faster. And most recently, we learned that faster sites move up in the news feed. And so here's an example of what those Facebook instant articles, if you see the little lightning bolt at the bottom of a post, like here, you'll notice, let's see, where is that? I don't see it. Anyone see? Oh, I see it. It's over there. Right here. And hard to see that. So if you see a lightning bolt on Facebook, that means it's an instant article, and it loads without redirecting you to a website, essentially. And part of this from Facebook, the reason that they're doing this is because of fake news, partially. And their theory is if the site loads faster, it's likely not to be a spammy fake news website. I don't know how true that is or if that's helping them at all, but this we know for sure. And so we're using that to make sure our Facebook and our posts are up higher in the news feed. And these are some of our best performing pieces. This one got over 22,000 page views. This was right after WVU lost, I think. I don't know, does anyone remember when that was? This was during the last season. I don't exactly remember when it was, but we got a lot of traffic on this. And Dana might know a little bit more about this, this VR video. This saw a lot of traffic really fast. All of this traffic organic, none of this is paid traffic. And this article about a stadium in Ohio and the opioid epidemic saw over 2,500 shares, and it was a very quick thing. All right, so something else that we're doing in this project is we're trying to be open source about the content that we have. And so we are allowing, this is a screenshot of an actual article. If you see at the bottom, there's a little republish this story. And so any news outlet who wants to republish this content and use it, this includes the photos, all of that, they can do that by clicking on the republish this story. And essentially, it gives an HTML box of code that you can copy, paste, and you're good to go. And what we've also done is we want to be able to track how that content does, for example, with West Virginia Public Broadcasting. How well are those pieces performing? So we developed a WordPress plugin that allows us to track page views from people who use these stories from open source. So we can still track the analytics both on our website and all of our partners, whoever they might be. And where we go from here, so I think it's not a mystery that video is huge on Facebook. This is from Social Media Today. They say that video has a 135% higher chance of organically being at the top of your news feed. And we have noticed that just with the small amount of videos that we have produced, we have seen that too. And I think as this project continues, video will be a bigger component than what it is right now. Okay.
All right, thanks, Tyler. Now Jesse will discuss our partnership with West Virginia Public Broadcasting. Jesse?
Thanks, Gina, and thanks for coming out. I think when Dana when the whole group first approached us about collaborating on this project, a couple things really stuck out to me. One was this sort of mission in trying to lift up regional journalism. I'm a firm believer that the people best positioned to tell the stories are the people on the ground in that situation. One of my least favorite things is parachute journalism. I've seen some national outlets that have been able to tell those stories well, but by and large, it's that local outlet. You know, I think Charlottesville is a great example of that, where we had an Ohio paper leading the coverage for a long time, right after a lot of that broke. And part of the mission here is to basically amplify that coverage here. So doing the original reporting with local people on the ground, but then also partnering with outlets that are already doing the kind of journalism that I think that the nation needs to hear. So that was really a big draw for me. But the other part, I think, is the educational aspect of it. You know, we're a public media organization. We focus a lot on education as part of our mission, and having it be built into this project was a big draw for me too. And so just the fact that, you know, this project is working with whole classes on things like audience engagement and now with the business model, I think that's fantastic. I mean, it's created a lot of buzz, but what it does is model what experimental journalism can look like up close. I mean, from an insider's perspective. And I don't think that there's too many times that you get that opportunity as a student to see that work in action. You get a lot of outlets that, you know, especially public media, where the university might own a license and they have a working newsroom that they can be part of, but it's often not experimental in the way that this project is. I mean, we're sort of making it up as we go along, which can be hair-raising at times, and as someone who likes a little bit of structure in the newsroom, that can be a challenge, but I think in that challenge is a great opportunity. And, you know, this team has really embraced that opportunity, I think. So, you know, the challenge for me as a news manager and as a news director has been in how to incorporate a project like this into our daily flow. It can be really tough to ask my reporters to do one more thing. Really just anytime I ask folks to do things when they're overworked and underpaid to begin with, and I recognize that. But what I've found is the opportunities that this project provides. So, you know, this story is an example where we have, as Gina mentioned, our Appalachia Health News project, and our reporter on that and coordinator is Carol Lofton. A young reporter who's done a really fantastic job of getting a hold of this health beat, but, you know, things get stale after you just cover one type of thing all the time. And she recognized an opportunity in this group of men who she interacted with for a health story, and saw an opportunity for 100 days and to file a story specifically that would line up with the mission of the project. And so I was able to say, yeah, great, go for it. You know, get out of your health beat and out of that niche for a minute and report out the story. And I think it turned out really well. She recognized what made the project special and what would fit really well for 100 days in the work that she does. And just wanted to show what it looks like on our site. So we developed a project page on our site to make sure that we were doing our part in running the stories and promoting them, and making sure that our audience was aware of what we're doing. An ongoing challenge for me is this sort of brand management, brand confusion, where we are part of so many different things. That can be a challenge to sort of say, yeah, you know, this is a West Virginia public broadcasting product as well as WVU. But that's part of the fun of it, is finding out, you know, if we solve that or go some way in solving that, that provides me a solution for the other brand management issues that we have with our other projects. Appalachia Health News is a great one, OVR, Ohio Valley Resource. But I think, you know, a big part of a collaboration like this is being willing to give up that part of your identity for something that is as impactful as this. We devoted a whole position to this project, and you know, it's been well worth it for me to have the kind of conversations that sometimes gets lost in that daily news cycle that we have to be part of because we're a statewide news organization. We do our best to cover it. But in considering the stories that we would normally cover through the lens of 100 days and its mission, it's given me an excuse to sort of put the brakes on some things and say, well, okay, if we just slow our roll a little bit, I think we'll get a better story out of it if we work in collaboration with 100 Days on this one. And then we end up with a bigger audience in the end.
All right. Thanks, Jesse. And finally, Nancy Andrews will discuss her 100 Days, 100 Voices series. Nancy?
Oh, well, thank you. Okay, do you hear me okay with this? 'Cause I wanna, yeah. First, I have to issue corrections. Corrections is, yes, it's, you know, I was the photographer, but this was the village of many people. You know, just, so I'm gonna go in order here, you know. So Gina had the fortune or misfortune, however you want to look at it, to end up being the editor on the project. So everyone needs an editor, and so I was lucky to have Gina. Dana, I must also say that this was Dana's idea for the portrait series. She said, "Hey, you know that thing you did on photographing people who were affected by floods? Can you just like do that and get some?" And I was like, "Sure," but that, oh my gosh! And so this was, I think that also, and I think this is one of the great things for this to be here at WVU and the Reed College of Media, is to have the pressure of having to publish. And so we were in that midst of the panic of, you've got an open space. What do you do? What are you going to put there? We haven't posted anything recently, or much less, it's relevant, it's speaking to things. You've got these lofty goals that we've talked about, which we are about those lofty goals. But ultimately, you have to make sure you're publishing. But I really owe Dana for that first ask, and then the team for the interpretation, and that includes Tyler with the website, and say, hey, help me do this, and to Jesse and our partners also at West Virginia Public Broadcasting, and also at the Daily Yonder. And it's just been a wonderful experience from that. And and you always need your publisher. Never forget your publisher. And in my case, our publisher is Mary Ann Reed. And so, this work doesn't come without freedom and also funding. So I thank you for that. So that was really, really excellent. So that's some of that. Then you're going to hear about, I'm going to bring up Justin. Where are you? Justin Hayhurst, okay. Come up here. I want people to be able to see you a little bit. And we've also got Maury Johnson. Where are you, Maury? Oh, yeah. I'm going to have you too, Maury. Maury is one of the pipeline fighters. And I'm going to hand you all the microphone in a little bit, but we're going to have a little exercise. So you'll see Maury over here. He's back in the back. He's next to a tree that he really just did not want the tree to get chopped down. And he's, I think you've saved that tree, don't you think? Yeah. All right, yeah. Yeah. So Maury lives in Monroe County, West Virginia, and his farm is on the path of the proposed Mountain Valley Pipeline. So we're going to get more into that. And also is there anybody else? Did you say Sarah was here? Sarah, you want to wave your hand here? Yeah, hey, yes. So, and we're gonna mention that would be a fun thing to mention. Anybody else here that was actually that got photographed by me? I haven't seen anybody, but okay, great. I just didn't want to leave anybody out. But there are some students here that also worked on other projects, and I should have looked at the time. But who is here from Bob Britton's class? I know there's some of you. That did the email newsletter. That's raise your hand. That was a great newsletter. Let's see. Here, great job. So if you subscribe to the 100 Days in Appalachian email newsletter, that came out of an independent study that several of us did. It was 5 students, and I led, and where we did news interviews and talked to people about their news consumption, and we realized they had a real need of getting an overview of news. We mainly studied West Virginia, but we saw that need, and that need existed for Appalachia as a whole. And so Bob Britton's class with student editors, Caitlin Davis and Lena Camilletti as the editors, they put out a weekly newsletter, kind of modeled after the Skim. How many people get the Skim? Read the Skim? But they had great open rates. They had great click-through rates. So that was an awesome job. So Carrie, you're representing the group. Leanne, sorry. It's crazy here. Sorry. One of the things we did when we were studying was, when we were trying to figure out what to do, was what does Appalachia mean? So we would just ask people, we'd interview people, did surveys. What words come to mind? Just words, not sentences. What words come to mind when you hear the word Appalachia? And I'm going to ask the audience for that. If just somebody raise their hand, just give me a couple of words, 2 or 3 words. People invariably gave us sentences too, but I just want to hear a couple of words. When you hear the word Appalachia, what do you think? Yeah. Love? Yeah. Anybody else? Yeah, go ahead. Huh? Mountains. We had a lot of people say mountains. Anything else? Yeah. Rural. Yeah. Yeah. Pride. Yeah. We had that too. Yeah. Other words? Any other words? Common folk. Any other thing? Yeah. Strength. Interesting.
You guys are all positive.
You're all positive. You know what? It's interesting because about a third of the people, about a third of the responses had mountains, beauty, scenery. Some had, a lot of people have mentioned music. A lot of people would, even though we asked for just a word, they would put, they would say literally like Loretta Lynn or, or they'd say John Denver. They would have all of these things that come to mind. But they also used the word poverty. They said poverty a lot. That was just as frequent. Versions of poverty was just as frequent as mountain. And we talked to hundreds of people. And the other thing people said, who thinks of, does anybody think of an image that comes to mind when you hear the word Appalachia? And what image? I mean, be honest. Tell me what image you see in your head when somebody says Appalachia. Yeah. People hiking. Yeah. So that outdoorsy. Coal miners. Anything else? Other images? Mountains might be one of them. We had a really interesting response rate of people said black and white photography. Does anybody see a black and white picture in their head when you say Appalachia? No? This group is different. This group is different because that black and white photography, we had people mention that. They mentioned Depression-era photos because a lot of the photography that comes out of Appalachia actually is in black and white. People, something happens to a photographer's camera when they come into Appalachia and it sucks all the color out of the camera and it becomes black and white. And there are mist and things. Those are beautiful. I love black and white. Those are beautiful pictures, right? But that is one of the reasons that all of these pictures are in color, no matter how much I wanted to have it in black and white. Or, the scene felt like it was monochromatic. I kept it in color. And I think that's sort of one of the differences is just seeing some things, in color. But that's sort of how we came up with what we wanted to do. So I wanted to talk a little bit about how we found people and some of the things of what we tried to experiment with. And one of the things Justin and I call this sort of side-by-side journalism, where or journalism teaching, however we want it to be, that we went out together, we succeeded together, we failed together, all of that. And failing, I'm meaning you can have an interview with somebody and you're talking to them and it's really great. And then at the end they say, oh, I don't want you to use my name. I don't want you to take my picture. I'll talk to you. And we're like, oh, God. So that's what I mean by failing. You just keep going. So, Justin, I want to hear a little bit about what you as a student learned doing this with your crazy professor.
All right, so everybody can hear me? I think that's the biggest thing that I learned was in the event that something does happen and somebody says, oh no, I don't use my name, or just as much as you go out and ask and get turned down, or have trouble finding someone, you just keep going. And so I guess I learned about being tenacious and just going for it. That's probably the biggest thing I've learned from Nancy.
Yeah, well, we have to share a microphone. Shared everything. Oh, there we go. So one of the things that I've noticed with students is a timidness in approaching people, and you've got to be able to just walk up to strangers and just talk to them and just sort of sometimes really get your message out there. And I think you found some of those amusing. So you want to share, what was your favorite, favorite situation of finding people?
I think my favorite situation was the weekend of the inauguration and then the Women's March in Washington, in which we were just, at one point, throughout the day, we just spent the majority of the day kind of just running around, and we would find a group of people and be like, hey, is anybody from Appalachia? Anybody? And people would just give us a crazy look and be like, no.
And we would name the states.
Yeah.
Like, Appalachia wasn't good enough. We'd be like, West Virginia, Kentucky, Virginia. And then somebody would say, Mississippi. And we're like, where? Where in Mississippi?
Yeah, so.
It was fun.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, so we found people and we would quiz them because they, once they said they were from Ohio, we had to find out where in Ohio. We didn't want to talk to them if they were from Toledo. That didn't count. So it made it more difficult. But we also found people that would talk to us because of who we were. I wore my West Virginia University sweatshirt. And I remember we went up to these biker dudes this is the Trump inauguration. And we were there, and of course the people we had planned to meet, like there was no way, we could never find them in either case. It was just, so you always have to have these plan Bs, and plan B was just shout a lot and ask people. So these guys are interesting photographs, and if Tyler, if you actually wanted to, if you Google the Trump inauguration in 100 days, that's the easiest way to navigate to. Yeah, just Google it. Trump and 100 days and Trump inauguration, and I think you'll get it. Anyway, I just want to, so we go up to these guys, and they are from Pulaski County, Virginia. And and they were, I am gonna, who knows? I'm giving him a test here. So Justin had noticed them and was more observant than I had, that two other photographers had actually asked them to take their pictures, and they had said no. But I was oblivious to that, so of course I still approached them. But one of the issues was, the Trump story, yeah. Oh yeah, this one right down here, that one. Postcard, yeah. So, click on that one. So we're talking, keep going. Keep going down. Oh, they're not. A problem when, go back. Yeah, right there. So, they were like, we were talking where they're from, and they're like from Pulaski, Virginia. And I was like, Pulaski? I was just in Lebanon. And that is how you pronounce, it's spelled Lebanon, but it's pronounced Lebanon. So he knew I was authentic. I had just been there. I couldn't forget it. It was 7 degrees. It was freezing. We had both been there. And so now I understood that I even knew where Pulaski County was, and that I could name a place that wasn't in it, but was right near there. And so they talked to us. And that was, but they were kind of sort of grumpy. I mean, they looked a little grumpy there, don't you think? And you've got William Yates and Danny Dalton. So William's right here and Danny's right there. And we're talking to them. And then fast forward to May, and I'm teaching abroad. I'm in Italy. And I get this email from William. And he tells me that Danny over here has died. And he thanks me so much for this picture. And he talks about how Danny was so pleased that he had been interviewed and he'd been on the site, and he had told everyone about it. And that this was their last great adventure together. They didn't realize he died from an aneurysm. He didn't realize it would be their last adventure. And, so I'm sitting there, and I just start crying, and then I wrote the guy back really sweet. I sent him the picture. I never heard from him again. That was just kind of it. But I say that story because you never know what the work you do means to the person on the other side of the camera or the other side of the story. That it becomes one of many stories for you, but it's really that Andy Warhol 15 minutes for them in some cases. And it means a lot. And you have to take great care with that. And, and so it is very much an honor to be able to take people's pictures and to play that role. And that sort of as a side has nothing to do with nothing, but yet everything to do with everything we do. But I just wanted to bring that up because of that. And you get those experiences by approaching strangers. All right, I think I looked at my clock right. I've got a few more minutes, right?
Like 1 minute.
1 minute. All right, I want to talk to Mari. Oh, okay. So Mari's very interesting. Mari, I found through Facebook. I responded to the Preserve Monroe Facebook page, and he got right back to me.
First off, I want to say something. I run a Preserve Facebook page, which is a group in Monroe County who is dedicated to try to bring out what we think are the true horrors of this pipeline that they're trying to put across our county and through the southern West Virginia, and well, actually all the way from Wetzel County. So I get this message from Nancy, and yeah, we'll talk. Well, I've got some people that would like to talk to, and so there's several stories that I hooked her up with. When I told people, this is why I want to talk about Nancy for a second. Nancy gets good stories because she comes out as authentic, caring, and just a really wonderful, sweet person. So when I was told people from southern West Virginia and southwest Virginia, the people that, and Jennifer from Berea, a friend of mine, they all said to tell you hello, and they want you to come back.
Okay.
Lots of them. So that's how we got hooked up, because I run that Facebook page, and I'm the one that answers all the messages. I also run a couple other Facebook pages she's done some stories on. One is the Sweet Springs. Monroe County has the oldest standing resort in America. It's 1830s. It's called it was called Old Sweet Springs Hotel. It's now called the Sweet Springs Foundation Park. It's a long name. Just look up Friends of the Sweet. That's easy if you want to see what's going on. And a local fella has finally got a hold of this, and we're trying to renovate this, and there's lots and lots and lots of stuff happening there. And so you talked to Mr. Berkeley and some folks there, and we also have a little school in a little town of 80 people who have big dreams and have had for 20 years since the school's closed. And we just dedicated a $1.3 million senior housing project there this past week. We also have set up a farm to school program through $150,000 USDA and state grants, which is expanding across the Greenbrier Valley. We now have Monroe, Greenbrier, Summers County involved. She's done a little bit on this story. So I just know some people, and I told Nancy, I just got involved with the West Virginia hemp growers because they planted a hemp crop on the Sweet Springs property, and I just told somebody, Nancy, you've got to talk to this lady.
Mari can get very complicated.
Yeah, so,
he knows. The thing is, he's connected. He knows everybody, and he posts way before you do. Like you'd find that everybody would know what you were doing because he would post it already on his Facebook page. Nancy interviewed this. Nancy interviewed. So
anyway,
he's a good news person.
But anyway, we do appreciate the work in southern West Virginia, southwest Virginia. We really appreciate the work that you all have done, and hope you continue for 100 years.
Excellent. Thank you, Mari.
Is that it?
Yes, that can be it.
Okay,
I'll
well,
take
thank
any
you.
questions now or later or whenever you want them.
We'll do them later when we mingle.
Yes.
Okay, so thank you, Nancy, Maury, and Justin. That concludes the panel portion of our event. For all the students in the audience, if you're interested in being a part of this publication for the spring semester, because, advising comes pretty quick in October. Please hook up with Dana and I as you roam around, and we can tell you how to do that. But the evening is not over. Nancy will mingle among everyone to answer questions you may have about our beautiful portraits. Here in the area to the right, we're going to open this up. We're going to be showing the documentary film on Muslim identity in Appalachia, with producer Dana Kester produced it, along with David Smith, and it was part of the 360 video series Muslim in Appalachia, featuring Sarah Berzingi. Did I say that right, Sarah? Berzingi, it was close. And she was also an important part of 100 Days, 100 Voices, and we will have VR headsets for the viewing. And finally, documentary filmmaker Christopher Lusk is here. Christopher, where are you? Can you please stand? Okay. Christopher has a viewing of his short film, Prosperity. It's a film that immerses the viewer in an Appalachian community using elements of documentary and experimental film. We're going to be showcasing his film in Studio B, which is out front where the snacks are, so I know y'all are going to go out there. And it'll be running on a loop. It's a 15-minute short film so that you can roam around and look at the photos, and Christopher's going to hang out back there to answer any questions. So thank you for coming to our event. Feel free to mingle and look at the photos and meet our filmmakers and grab some snacks. So thanks, everyone.